You walk out onto the back porch on a crisp autumn morning, a plastic bucket of mixed seeds swinging against your leg, the metal lid clinking with a familiar rhythm. To you, it is an act of pure kindness, a quiet, gentle offering to the shivering creatures braving the chill. You reach the cedar post, unscrew the cover, and cascade a fresh waterfall of high-calorie gold into the basin. A sudden flurry of wings erupts into the frost-kissed maple branches overhead. You step back, smiling, feeling like a quiet steward of nature, a protector of the wild. But right now, sitting 6 feet away on an exposed limb, a tiny feathered brain is looking down at you with a chillingly calculated appraisal. That bird isn't feeling gratitude. It isn't thinking about your kindness. It's measuring your approach speed, evaluating your predictable schedule, and figuring out how long it will take to outmaneuver the rival cartel waiting in the hedge. Because in the hidden architecture of your backyard, your feeder isn't a soup kitchen, it's an industrialized feeding trough. And you're not a gentle caretaker. You're the floor manager of a corporate farm. Curiosity expansion. Most people spend their entire lives looking at backyard wildlife through a lens of sentimental poetry. We project our own human emotions of charity and friendship onto creatures that possess ancient, hyper-specialized survival instincts honed over millions of years. When a titmouse flits down to a hanging tray right after you fill it, conventional wisdom tells you they trust you, that they recognize a safe haven you thoughtfully constructed. But modern behavioral ecology reveals a reality that is far more calculated and, honestly, a lot stranger. Wild birds do not experience your backyard as a peaceful sanctuary. They experience it as a high-stakes corporate enterprise, a localized monopoly where every single human movement is cataloged, analyzed, and categorized. When you walk toward that feeder, your footsteps aren't heard as a welcome greeting. They're interpreted as the predictable arrival of a supply shipment. They track your door opening, the exact pitch of the screen door creaking, the cadence of your stride, and even the time elapsed since the last refill. And the seeds you pour out, they aren't viewed as a gift. They're viewed as an exploitable resource anomaly, a corporate-sponsored surplus that can be strategically dominated, hoarded, and weaponized against rival factions. Most people don't realize that when you step back inside and close the blinds, believing you've left them to peacefully feast, you've actually just triggered an intense, mafia-style turf war right outside your window. The birds aren't singing songs of joy. They're broadcasting tactical coordinates, enforcing strict worker hierarchies, and running an economic cartel that treats your entire property as their exclusive commercial zone, with you functioning merely as their automated two-legged logistics provider. Emotional promise. This isn't just an interesting biological quirk. It's a profound inversion of how we understand our place in the natural world. For anyone who has ever found solace in watching backyard birds, understanding their true psychological perspective strips away the comfortable illusion of stewardship. It replaces it with something much more fascinating, a glimpse into an alien intelligence living right alongside us. By the end of this journey, you will never look at a flock of chickadees, finches, or jays the same way again. You will see the subtle head tilts, the synchronized silences, and the frantic morning rushes not as cute animal behavior, but as the calculated maneuvers of sophisticated urban strategists who have successfully domesticated us. Soft CTA. Before we dive into the complex economic architecture of the backyard canopy, if you enjoy pulling back the curtain on the hidden behaviors of the natural world, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. It keeps our community growing and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into the strange realities hiding right outside your window. Section 1. The Corporate Industrial Farm Paradigm. To understand how wild birds actually view you and your property, we have to start by dismantling the concept of the bird lover. In the mind of a wild perching bird, there is no category for charity. Nature doesn't do charity, it does energy economics. Every hour of daylight is a frantic calculation of caloric intake versus caloric expenditure. Find a seed, avoid a hawk, maintain body temperature, survive the night. It's a razor-thin margin where a single miscalculation means death. When you introduce a backyard feeder into this equation, you fundamentally alter the local ecosystem's currency. But you don't become a friend to the birds, you become an industrial supplier. Imagine walking into a massive automated distribution center where a wall occasionally dispenses warm, calorie-dense pellets whenever a large, hairless creature walks across the floor and rattles a plastic cylinder. Do you feel emotional affection for the conveyor belt? Do you write poetry about the metal machinery in the corner? Of course not. You study its patterns. You learn that if you press a certain button at a certain time, food appears, and you organize your entire shift around maximizing your share of that output. Wild birds do this with chilling precision. Ornithologists tracking tagged chickadees and nuthatches have discovered that these animals possess internal biological clocks accurate to within minutes. They don't wait around your yard all day hoping you might show up. Instead, they operate on strict logistical schedules. A dominant male downy woodpecker will patrol a boundary 200 yards away, monitoring the sun's angle, and time his arrival at your cedar post to coincide almost down to the minute with your usual morning coffee break. The sound of your kitchen window sliding open, the specific metallic click of the latch, the crunch of gravel under your boot, these are audio cues that feed straight into their procedural memory. They know your habits better than your coworkers do. They know that when you wear the heavy blue coat, you tend to stay outside longer filling multiple stations, whereas when you wear the thin gray hoodie, you dump the seat and retreat immediately inside. They map your behavioral quirks not out of affection, but out of strategic necessity. You are a predictable, automated weather and food event, a reliable fixture of their landscape to be exploited with maximum efficiency and minimum risk. Section 2. The Apex Surveillance Zone and Risk Calculus. Every time a bird approaches your backyard feeder, it's engaging in a high-stakes economic gamble. To the human eye, the feeder is a charming wooden box on a metal pole. To the avian eye, it's an exposed high-risk commercial zone where the pursuit of cheap calories must be constantly weighed against the threat of sudden, violent death. This brings us to the hidden reality of your manicured lawn. It's a panopticon. In the wild, birds forage within dense underbrush, tangled brambles, and multi-layered canopy structures that offer instant escape routes from aerial ambush predators like hawks. A freestanding feeder placed out in the open middle of a green, grassy yard strips away those protective visual buffers. It creates an artificial clearing, a stark, open arena where visibility is high and cover is dangerously scarce. When a goldfinch lands on your feeder, its tiny brain is executing a continuous, frantic risk calculus. It doesn't linger leisurely. It drops in with explosive acceleration, grabs a single sunflower seed, and instantly rockets back to the safety of the perimeter shrubbery to shell and consume it. This hit-and-run foraging strategy is driven by an acute awareness of the landscape's geometry. Behavioral biologists studying suburban bird activity have documented that birds spend only a fraction of their time actually eating at open feeders. The vast majority of their energy is spent scanning the horizon, twitching their heads in rapid movements, and monitoring shadows. Every rustle of the wind in the curtains behind your window pane, every passing neighborhood cat crouching beneath the deck, and every sudden shift in the light registers as a potential lethal threat. You might think you've created an oasis of safety and abundance. But from their perspective, your yard is a high-risk trading floor. They accept the extreme exposure of your open lawn only because the energetic payout of your subsidized seed is so astronomically high that it outweighs the constant hovering threat of predation. You're running a high-yield investment platform where the dividends are paid in sunflower hearts, but the cost of entry is a perpetual gamble with their lives. Section 3. The Social Media Gossip Network of the Canopy. The moment a bird lands on your feeder and discovers a fresh batch of premium seed, it doesn't quietly enjoy the meal. It immediately broadcasts the intelligence across the local canopy. Your backyard functions as a bustling public town square, a communal trading post where information is currency, reputations are established, and news of your schedule is relayed across species lines in real time. If you sit quietly on your back porch and listen closely to the acoustic environment surrounding your yard, you will realize that the birds aren't singing random, formless melodies. They're engaged in a complex multi-species communication network that acts as an open-source neighborhood watch broadcast. When a titmouse or a chickadee detects a new food drop or spots a potential threat, such as you stepping onto the back porch with your bucket, it doesn't keep the discovery to itself. Instead, It unleashes a barrage of high-frequency vocalizations that ripple outward through the neighborhood in seconds. Other species, nuthatches, house finches, downy woodpeckers, and mourning doves tune into this frequency, decoding the data stream instantly. They know precisely what the alarm notes mean, what the food discovery chatter sounds like, and how urgent the situation is. Your yard is the central node of this information network. Within minutes of your departure, birds from half a mile away have updated their mental maps regarding the status of your feeding station. They gossip about the quality of the mix you put out, whether it's premium black whale sunflower or cheap filler-heavy cracked corn that gets tossed disdainfully to the ground. They track which human in the household fills the feeder more generously, and they adjust their visitation schedules accordingly. You are the subject of continuous, localized town gossip. Every action you take on your property is cataloged, analyzed, and broadcast across the canopy, cementing your status not as a mysterious stranger, but as a well-documented, highly scrutinized fixture of their daily economic grid. Section 4. The evolutionary trap and biological addiction. Beneath the charming facade of backyard birdwatching lies a darker, more complex biological paradox that evolutionary biologists call the supplemental feeding trap. When we look at our manicured lawns and full seed trays, we see abundance. But from an evolutionary standpoint, we're inadvertently running a massive, uncontrolled biological experiment on wild populations. High-fat, high-carbohydrate seed mixes offer a caloric density that simply does not exist in nature outside of rare, seasonal mast years. In a truly wild environment, finding such concentrated energy requires massive foraging ranges, high physical exertion, and constant adaptation to changing seasonal availability. When you provide an endless, effortless supply of rich food right outside your back door, you short-circuit millions of years of evolutionary conditioning. This creates what researchers describe as an ecological addiction loop. Birds that become dependent on backyard feeders begin to alter their fundamental survival strategies. Why expend massive amounts of energy ranging across miles of forest and meadow searching for native weed seeds and dormant insect larvae when a suburban patio offers an endless, reliable calorie gusher? Over time, this dependency shifts population densities, encourages unnatural flocking behaviors that accelerate the spread of avian diseases at crowded feeding stations, and disrupts the natural migration triggers of species that might otherwise move south before harsh winter freezes set in. They stay because the corporate feeding trough keeps running. They anchor their winter survival territories around your property line, placing their entire seasonal success into the hands of an unpredictable primate who might go on vacation, move house, or simply stop buying seed. When you look out at the cardinals and goldfinches jostling for position on your feeder, you're witnessing an evolutionary entanglement. They're tethered to your domestic routine, structurally reliant on your suburban grocery runs, and insulated from the raw natural pressures that shaped their species, all while maintaining a cold, calculating psychological distance from you. They need your seed, but they do not need you. To them, you're simply the caretaker of the machine. Section 5. The Human Profiling System and Facial Recognition. If you think you're just another anonymous, interchangeable human face to the wildlife in your yard, you're severely underestimating their cognitive firepower. Wild birds possess visual acuity and memory systems that put human observational skills to shame, and their capacity for individual facial recognition is nothing short of extraordinary. Decades of behavioral research, most famously conducted with corvids and mockingbirds, have shattered the assumption that animals see all humans as identical bipedal shapes. Birds don't just recognize humans, they recognize you specifically. They map facial bone structures, hair color, walking gaits, and even subtle asymmetries in how different people move across a lawn. In controlled field experiments, researchers wearing specific rubber Halloween masks walked near wild bird populations. Even months later, birds that had never interacted with those specific researchers except to be briefly caught and banded would spot the mask from 50 yards away and instantly erupt into furious mobbing calls, dive-bombing the wearer while completely ignoring researchers wearing different masks. More remarkably, these birds passed that facial profile down to their offspring through generations of local scolding and alarm signaling. Young birds that were not even hatched when the initial event occurred learned to hate and fear that specific facial geometry simply by listening to the frantic warnings of their parents. This means that every single time you step outside, you are actively writing your reputation into the local avian database. If you move too quickly, make sudden threatening gestures, or knock over a branch while gardening, you're cataloged in their neural network not as a generic human, but as a specific entity carrying a specific risk profile. Conversely, if you move with predictable, calm deliberation, maintain a steady rhythm, and consistently provide predictable resources, you earn a neutral or low-threat classification. They know the difference between the homeowner who fills the tray and the neighbor's teenager who throws rocks at fence posts. They know who drives the loud pickup truck that backfires in the driveway and who walks quietly with a camera. You are an individual character in their complex social landscape, carrying a distinct historical footprint that lingers in their memories long after you've gone back inside to watch television. Build up. And this is where the dynamic takes its most unsettling turn. Because as you stand there at your kitchen window watching the frantic, beautiful chaos unfold against the backdrop of your morning routine, a strange realization begins to settle in. You think you're the observer. You think you're the one standing safely on the inside of the glass, looking out at the simple, instinctive lives of dumb animals flitting through the branches. You believe you hold all the cards, the key to the shed, the bag of seed, the power to give or to withhold. But watch them for an hour straight without interruption. Watch how the entire economic ecosystem of your yard reorganizes itself around your schedule. Watch how the sentinel birds in the maples track your shadow moving across the blinds before you even touch the door handle. Watch the cold, calculating precision in their black, unblinking eyes as they assess your approach. The boundary between inside and outside begins to blur. You realize you aren't just a spectator watching nature. You're an active, domesticated component of their industrial supply chain. You've been integrated into their food web economics, cataloged in their facial recognition archives, and mapped into their daily commercial routes. Final climax. You're not the master of the backyard. You're their logistical asset. Think about that for a moment. They've successfully trained a two-legged primate millions of times their size to work jobs, earn currency, drive to agricultural supply stores, buy heavy bags of premium Niger seed and sunflower hearts, carry them home, and dump them into cedar boxes on a strict, predictable schedule, all without speaking a single word of our language. Who has domesticated whom? Who is really working for whom in this quiet suburban arrangement? The next time you walk out to fill that trough, stop for a second, look up at the branches, and realize they aren't waiting for you to be kind. They're just waiting for their supplier to restock the shelves. Full circle ending. So tomorrow morning, when the frost is still clinging to the grass and you pick up that plastic bucket to make your quiet pilgrimage to the cedar post, remember what is really happening beneath those rustling leaves. As the screen door clicks open and the first sharp warning note ripples through the canopy, you won't just hear the sounds of cheerful morning birds anymore. You'll hear the sophisticated chatter of an ancient, watchful intelligence evaluating your stride, timing your approach, and logging your approach in cane of generational memory. You will walk out across your lawn not as a benevolent god of the backyard, but as what you truly are to them, a reliable, predictable, wonderfully conditioned part of the wild industrial grid. Comment CTA. Drop a comment below and let me know, after hearing this, will you ever look at your backyard bird feeder the exact same way again?